Hi, I'm Satyendra, your IELTS trainer, and today we're going to see how to take care of task 1 for writing module only for general training. If you thinking about academic, if you're writing for academic, that is for study purpose, please go to our previous video which talks about task 1 itself for academic. That is a report. In general training, we're going to see a letter. So let's begin. Writing task 1 for general training is always a letter and a single letter. There are plenty of the types of letters, but you'll only get one question. You'll be given 20 minutes to write, but these are recommended. You can write a little bit longer or shorter. And you don't have to write this as first. You can write task 2 or task 1, any of them first. There's no set sequence, up to you. What you feel, fine. I prefer task 2 because, it's a little bit longer and carries more or a higher score. I always go for 2 first and then go for 1. Anyway, let's begin. Now, as I said, it's always a letter. And secondly, let's see an example directly so that you understand what is going to happen in an exam. You should spend about 20 minutes. Should, not necessarily. It's up to you. You have seen an advertisement for a community college that needs teachers for night classes. Write a letter to the community college. In your letter, now see, till here you will get information. What is this letter about? After this, you will get what you should mention in the letter. Say which advertisement you are answering. Describe which courses you want to teach and what it or they would be about. Explain why you would be a suitable teacher. These things you have to mention in your letter for sure. And as I said, minimum 150 words in the structure video. You don't need to write any address. They might or they might not mention this, but you don't have to write any address or to or from. Nothing. Start with just dear sir or dear madam or dear name, depending on the letter type. We'll see that later, but don't mention any address. And this is the question what you see in exam. Okay, let's proceed then. Letters are divided based on 2 types, that is their purpose as well as formality. And there are 3 different letters based on formality. The first one is called formal letter. If you're writing to someone who is higher authority, or you're writing a letter to who you don't know even, then it's formal letter. Second one is called semi-formal. That means writing to someone you do know, but you're not that close. They are not your friends or family or relatives. Correct. So you're writing to them as semi-formal. And the last one is informal. That means the people who are your friends, very close, who are your family, neighbors, anyone who is close to you, they know you personally, is called informal letter. Why do we have to understand these 3? The reason is our letters and the structure will change based on the letter types, based on formality. Let's see what I mean by that. See, differences will help you to understand 3 of them in a single go. Because if I talk about them separately, you'll get confused. So what I have done is I created a proper table so that you can compare and contrast and remember stuff. It doesn't matter. See, you won't be getting 3 of them. You will be getting any one of them. Now let's see, we're going to talk about formal, semi-formal and informal. First thing is the salutation. In the formal letters, you can say dear sir or madam, or maybe you have to, not can. In the second one, that is semi-formal, you say dear first name or dear Mr. or Miss surname. We make this mistake very often that when we say Mr., let's say my name is James Bond, which is not, by the way. So what I generally say is Mr. James, as a student, which is incorrect. You should always say Mr. Bond. Secondly, you see here you cannot put a dot according to UK English. They try to ignore it. American English says that, yeah, Mr. and dot is fine. The reason for that is not having a dot here, or let's say full stop here, period here, is Mr. spells like this, and MR is created from the first word and the last word. Same goes for doctor. So when you write doctor, it spells like this, and when you create the short form, it is first letter and last letter. Hence, you don't put doctor and a period or a full stop. You always just write DR and that's it in UK English. That's why you see I've not put a full stop here or after Mr. So you can write Mr. James, or you can write Dear James, or you can write Dear Mr. Bond. Clear? And in informal, you can just directly mention the name, like dear name of the person you're writing to, if you use their name. If you use the relation, for example, dear brother, dear sister, or dear father, because you don't write your father's name, right? Or your mother's name directly. You call them mother, father, grandpa, or whatever. So relation will do, or dear friend, or dear name of the friend. This is the first difference. Second is when you write the first paragraph. Second difference is in the first paragraph that you write, you mention your introduction based on the situation, and then you write the reason why you're writing the letter. By mentioning introduction, let's say you're writing a letter to municipality or government, you'll mention where are you staying, and then of course you mention your name first, and then you write the reason. Like for an example, I'm writing this letter to shed some light on this issue, or to praise about something you did, whatever the letter asks for, but you have to mention your reason in the first paragraph. These two things are enough. That means you mention your name and tell them what your introduction in context. That means I am a customer of this. That means in their context introduction, and then give the reason why you're writing the letter. Same goes for semi-formal, no change. Change will be in informal. You don't need to write your introduction in informal, isn't it? So you're writing a letter to your friend. Would you say, hi, my name is this, do you remember me? Of course not. So you talk about a previous meeting. This way you can connect with them. What I mean by previous meeting is, you would say, remember last time we met in the cafe, how good time we had, or remember the coffee, or remember the party we had, it was fun. That was previous meeting you discussed. And of course, reason has to be there because you're writing a letter. Based on the letter, you say, for example, I'm writing this letter in order to do this, this, and that. Clear? Good. Now after that, we have a tone. We have a formal tone in formal letters. We have a formal tone in semi-formal letters as well. However, we have informal tone. By formal tone, I mean you have to be a little bit respectful. Secondly, you cannot force things. You cannot say stuff like, funny tone or, funny incident. You have to be very concrete in your words. Here you can talk about previous incidents and stuff, and, in the paragraphs I'm talking about. So informal tone will be fine in this case. Okay. Next difference is you can't ask for exact time if required. Here you can ask for exact time. Here you can ask for any time. What I mean by this, let me give an example. In the case of formals, let's say you have some trouble near your house and you're writing to your government, or let's say municipality or anything, and you say, I need to get this solved. This is what's happening near the house. I hope to get it solved soon. In the end, you will write. Here, informal, you cannot say, I want it done within 3 days. You have to request, right, that I hope it is getting worked. I hope it gets solved soon. Here, in the case of semi-formal, what do you write? You write exact time. I hope it is done, or hope I get my wallet back within 2 days, which I left in the office or left in your hotel or whatever it is. So you can ask for exact time. Friends and family, you can write anytime you want. You're like, please come early so that we can do this stuff or that stuff. Please come early so that we can prepare for the party. Try to reach at 3 o'clock, So that's what I mean. In formal letters, you cannot ask for exact time. In semi-formal and informal, you can ask for exact time. Okay. Finally, the closing, where we have to mention, the signature thing. Yours faithfully. By the way, it has to be plural. Capital. I forgot to mention that. How do we remember this? Because here we have your sincerely and then your full name. See, formal starts with F and faithfully starts with F as well. Semi-formal starts with S and sincerely starts with S as well. Simple to remember, right? So formal, faithfully, and semi-formal, sincerely. Please write your full name. Don't try to write just one, short name, just first name or second name, one, two, or surname, one, two, write full name. And lastly, that is informal. You can write, kind regards or best regards, or, of course, full name later, but it's up to you. That's it, enough for you. I mean, regards is also fine. Here there's no rule because this is informal letter. Mostly you get formal or semi-formal in exam, and in there faithfully and sincerely other words. Okay, cool. Then we have a letter based on purpose. What does it mean by purpose? I mean, purpose means why are you writing this letter? What is the question about? The purpose we have to define. So we have many purposes, like 6 to 7. We'll go one by one. When you request for information, when you ask for information from somewhere, this is one kind of letter. Let me show you an example. You should write a letter to the bank manager requesting for information about the bank loan, and in your letter you mention these information. You see, you're requesting for information about the bank loan. One kind of information, one kind of letter you write. All right. Then we have give personal or factual information. Second purpose, where you provide personal or factual information about something, you provide information. Your local travel agent recommended a place to visit and you are now having a good time there. Write a letter to your travel agent, tell them the following: what you've been doing, what you like in this place. So you provide information in this rather than asking for information. You see the difference? This is another kind of letter. Then we have explain a problem or situation. So let's say we have a problem here and we're gonna ask for solving it. You have recently purchased an item from a retail store. Okay. When you return home, you found that it did not work. You cancel the customer. You call the customer care about this problem, but did not get any satisfactory response. Now you will explain the situation. You want some action to be taken. So you show the problem and ask for solution. Another kind of letter. Next one is explain wants or needs. What you want from this, or make a request of something. Let's see an example. You just started a course in college which has no sports faculties of its own. Write a letter to the manager of the nearest private sports club. In your letter you mention why are you interested in a sport club. You're asking for something. That means for some facility you want to have. This is called a letter where you ask for something. Okay. Then we have complain about a service. Not the situation, but complain about a service itself. Write a letter to your college administration department complaining about the college facility. This is about complaining about a service. The facilities you're getting is a service, right? So you discuss, what is happening and what are the trouble you're having. You have to use a complaining tone. I can't believe this is what we received. Whatever it is, right? So you said, I don't believe what we have here and all those stuff. Next is making a suggestion or recommend something, right? So what kind of suggestion you can make? Not complaining, but suggestion. You eat at your favorite restaurant every day for lunch. You do not like the decor they have chosen. Write a manager telling them. You see, complaining will be different letter, but you complain. Like, of course, you mention what is the problem, but then you give suggestions. What things you need to be changed and give suggestions. You have to mention mainly on suggestions. It's called suggestion letter. Okay. And that was about how letters are based on purpose. Now we're going to see what you must have in a letter. You cannot ignore these things, otherwise your letter won't be complete. So let's begin. The first thing you must have is a greeting. Remember we were discussing dear sir, dear madam and all those stuff. You must have that. Second thing, opening statements. That means your introduction and the reason for writing the letter. Must have. Explaining the situation based on the letter, which we have seen on purpose. You mention explain your situation in paragraph 2, because paragraph 1 was only opening the statement, which was introduction plus problem, and then explaining the problem, explaining the solution, or explaining how you enjoyed something. Is you have to explain the situation in a different paragraph. Clear? Describe the problem. Like if there's a problem, describe the problem then as well. You can't just mention the problem. You have to describe it, how it is hindering you. What are the troubles you're having? Okay. Say what would like to happen. That means, let's say there's something happening, or there's a trouble. What would you like to change? Right? You also have to mention. You just can't create. Mention that there are some troubles or there's a situation. What would you like to change? What you would like to happen means say what you would like to make a change over that place. Then we have a closing statement. Now, closing statements means I hope to get this thing done soon, or I hope the problem will be solved soon. That is called closing statement. And finally, end of the letter. End of the letter is nothing, just the greeting part. I mean, in the signature part. Dear, yours faithfully, yours sincerely. I hope you get my point, because I have explained that in the differences, the whole all these things that you have to mention. But all these things are most important in a letter. Without these, it will be hard for any examiner to check and provide you good grades. So if any trouble, I understand, you can watch the video again, or you can ask me in the mail. All right. And that's the end of the chapter. Today we understood how letter writing is done based on formality, based on purpose, and what are the differences. I show you what you write in first paragraph, and in second one, if you need, you can write third paragraph explaining things in detail or what you want from them. And finally, a closing. All right. That's it for the day. I hope you enjoyed. Have a nice time. Bye-bye.